It's going to be like a sauna instead of the ice chamber. You're getting cryotherapy in here now. Now you're coming to the sauna. So.
I thought you were trying to butter us up.
Come on now. The more you can do. Everybody good? Great.
Did you arrange anything with Bergen Catholic since you were there a day early Saturday?
I believe that Bergen Catholic is actually nothing before the game. I think they're actually having something at the. They're doing a bunch of people from the school, and the president from the school, a bunch of my teammates, the coach, the AD. I think a bunch of guys are coming to the game, so that'll be pretty neat. Have those guys represented there would be pretty cool.
Did you do anything different throughout practice this week? I know you're typically looking at changing things as you can, everything like that, but just with it being coming off of a loss and everything, was there a different approach at all this week?
Listen, we're just trying to focus on the things that we haven't done well. Obviously, we were outside a couple times this week. Naturally, we kind of got rained out yesterday a little bit, but we were outside Wednesday, outside Friday. Try to make the focus some of the things we haven't done well. I mentioned to you guys third down. Yesterday was third down day. We put a really big emphasis on the third down stuff. I think that's going to be a big part of what we do moving forward, not just in this game but all the games. Try to make the second half of practice. We haven't played particularly well in the second half, in my opinion. Not only in this 3-game stretch, but maybe overall in the season. So try to put an emphasis on the second half of practice and kind of finishing strong, and so just really the things that So other than just being outside and focusing on the things we got to improve on, that's really so nothing. I wouldn't say there was anything major.
First week when you started with them as the interim, you had talked about upping the tempo in practice. Is that maintained throughout?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're still getting, like Derek mentioned that first week, just the more reps, the volume, the intensity's actually picked up. It's been really good. I thought we had a really good day today outside. I was happy when I left my house this morning again with the cold weather. It's the coldest day of the week, and we had a little cool weather today because obviously it's something we're not accustomed to. So I'm glad we were able to go out and be a little bit cooler out there today. So yeah, all those things I thought our tempo of practice. I haven't seen I know a question has been asked about a drop off. Coming off of a game that we didn't win, and I haven't seen anything like that. I just walked through the locker room on the way here. Our energy's good. Our intensity in practice has been good, and now we got to bring that to the field. So that's going to be the important thing. Bring that on Sunday.
Is Kendre, is he going to be able to be like full go, hit the ground running, or is there kind of like a ramp up period here with the time?
Yeah, listen, right now Kendre, obviously we have to make a roster move there. If he's going to play in a game, it's trending that way. He's had a good 3 days. Really just trying to take that day by day so there's no setbacks. But he's going, the arrow's pointing in the right direction. Thought he had another good day today. Obviously kind of been really focused on him getting mentally prepared for the game. Physically, he looks like he's in pretty good shape. So I don't mean physical shape. I mean pretty good shape to play in the game Sunday. So right now, that's the plan. So.
Said earlier in the week he felt like he was healthy when he went on IR. I was wondering if you could clarify that process at all. When a team decides to put a player on IR, does the player have any say in that if he feels like he's healthy enough to play? And I'm talking about a player that's going to be on the team no matter what, not like an injury settlement type thing.
Yeah, I'm not trying to remove myself from that situation, but I obviously wasn't. I wasn't the head coach when Kendre went to IR. But from what I know about the situation, he was going to miss some time. The amount of time he was going to miss is maybe in question. I think that's probably where the discrepancy is. Obviously, when you decide to put a player on IR, they automatically miss the 4 games if you designate him for return. And so, listen, we've had players like that. Like I'll use Lucas Patrick. Lucas Patrick, we had to make a decision about him going on IR or keep him on the 53-man roster. Is he going to miss 4 games? Well, he's missed 3. And now he's going to make it back for this 4th game. And so sometimes there's those fringe decisions. It depends how many guys you have injured. If you can make a guy inactive for a few weeks and can afford to do that. Again, that wasn't my decision to make at that time. And so I think the decision that was made was, with where we are roster-wise, we're going to put the player on IR. Was he healthy enough to come back and play the last couple of weeks? Probably. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Probably accelerated a little bit more than he wouldn't have to sit out 4 games. But regardless, that's really the situation. So in anybody's situation, Kendre, Lucas, anybody's, when those injuries happen, you have to kind of, unfortunately, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know how many injuries you're going to have at the same position. That's always the fear. If you put a guy on IR and another guy gets hurt at that position, are you going to be able to have enough, tools on the practice squad? Do you have enough on your roster? So those decisions always, so again, I wasn't really in the room for the conversations for Kendre when that happened and when that decision was made. But I understand what you're saying. But with any player, that's always the equation: is can they make it back in less than 4 weeks? Where are we at that particular position? And are we going to need that player at some point? So I think Lucas is a really good example.
Has Caesar passed concussion protocol?
Yeah, he passed. I think he's got one more step to go, but he had to complete today's practice. He practiced today, so that was a positive for us. He was a full practice participant. I think he just needs to, visit with the one more step here, visit with the doctors, but he's trending to play right now as well.
Do you know if they'll technically be questionable or?
No, I don't think he's going to, as long as he passes the meeting today, I believe he'll be no injury designation.
Malik Nabers leads all rookies in catches. From what you've seen on film from him, what's impressed you most?
Well, yeah, listen, I really liked the player in the draft process a lot. I really liked Malik Nabers a lot in the draft process. He was very, very highly thought of, at least by me. I think some other people in the building too. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's, had immediate success in the NFL. He's a very, very talented guy. He's obviously, he can do a lot of different things. He can push the ball down the field to him. He's a catch and run guy. And so, listen, he's one of the things I think I mentioned earlier in the week is he's one of their players that could create explosive plays. That's always, again, that's been a little bit of our Achilles heel, is giving up too many explosives. And so when we're looking at it from a game plan standpoint and how we're going to try to win this game, that's going to be a big part of it is eliminate. I don't know if you're going to eliminate all of them, but we certainly have to try to minimize those, and that's what he does really well.
In those second half struggles, I know you hear about halftime adjustments being kind of overblown, but how much are you guys noticing the defense is reacting to what you guys did in the first half? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, it's a two-part. I'm going to agree with you. I think the halftime adjustments are way overblown because by the time you get in there and go to the bathroom, it's time to come back out in the field. So I don't know. I think the thing that's not overblown though is that you're making adjustments all game long, both in all three phases, because there's going to be those unscouted looks. We practice all week. We think we know what we're going to get. There's a lot of good coaches in this league in all three phases, and there's going to be some things that you're not prepared for, week in and week out. And I really think that's a huge part of success in all three phases is how the players react and how well they're prepared for the uncarded, unscouted, whatever you want to call them, the looks that you weren't necessarily. And so you got to kind of follow your, day one rules in a lot of those situations. So whether that's pass protection or run blocking or, their run scheme or their pass protection or if it's a different combination of routes, how you handle that as the game goes on is a huge part, of the wins and losses. And so I think it's not just a halftime adjustment. I think it's just in-game adjustments overall. We haven't done a great job coming out of the locker room. Just look at our first two drives on both sides of the ball the last 3 weeks. We haven't done well, and that's been an emphasis here coming out of halftime. Sustaining success all game long. We've had too many peaks and valleys, in my opinion, and that's been the emphasis.
And for Bub Means, he just not he practiced Wednesday, but wasn't Thursday.
Yeah,
Was it just not- was it a little early
It should.
maybe?
Well, again, we have the 21 days. We didn't want to wait a whole nother week to get him going. So the plan this week with Bub was try to, start to get him in a little bit. He's not going to go this week. The plan will be to continue to rehab him, but we did think in the 3-week window there to try maybe use as much time as we could. So we knew he was going to be limited coming out. I think I mentioned the other day, Kendre was well ahead of him in terms of the rehab process.
Is a coach one of the things that seems like that stands out is that you never allow an injury or something bad to become an excuse or a reason. As a coach, how do you foster an environment where that kind of trickles down throughout the whole building to where people aren't well, damn, Taysom's hurt, what are we gonna do now? How do you coach that? Yeah,
I think that's a fair question. I think that goes back to me. I'll use myself as an example. I'm an accountability guy, and so I think you can find an excuse and a reason to justify anything, quite frankly. You can use it. We can use the weather. We can use the travel. We can use the injuries. We can use the coaching change. There's always going to be something to say. Well, no big deal. And we're trying, like you said, Nick, to foster an environment where we're not, what do we have to do to get it done? All right, this is what we have to do this week with the people that we have. This is our coaching staff. This is our players. What's the game plan that we got to put? In my opinion, the best coaches that have ever coached any sport, not just football, are the coaches that are able to do that with whatever players are available. Sean Payne and I have both worked for Coach Parcells, and Coach Parcells used to say, and I used to talk about it with Sean when he was here, there's a way to win every single game. It's the coach's job to figure out in that particular game, in those 60 minutes, how we're going to win each week. And so that's not going to be the same way every week. It's going to be a different formula every week. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are a great example of that. They find a different way, somehow, some way, they find a different way to win those tight games in the fourth quarter, a bunch of different ways. And they've been really the model of success here the last few years in our league. And so I think everybody at this time of year can use those excuses with injuries. I think it's important that we don't let that fester in the locker room and just say, wow, this guy's out. You use Taysom as an example. Taysom's out this week. All right, well, let's find a way to cover for all the things that he did, and I think that's what good coaches do. And I think that's really important, not to have those excuses and have that accountability thing. And you guys know that goes back to all the 111 stuff.
Last week you said the plan was to make it a competition in the wide receiver room. When you have a couple guys like Dante and Kevin who exhausted their call-ups, does that make that conversation a little more complicated in terms of,
Yeah, it does from a roster standpoint, for sure. We have some moving parts here probably in the next couple of days with some IR moves and some call-ups and things like that. We have to shuffle some things around from a roster standpoint, so we'll do that here in the next couple of days. But it does, because when you're exhausted, your three call-ups, I'll use Kevin as an example. I mean, obviously he's right now. You look at the last couple of weeks, and he's been one of our best receivers, our two best guys. And so, yeah, we got to find a way to get him, to the roster here and get him up for game day. And so, yeah, and that's really with any position. Another guy like Isaiah Stalbird, we used his 3 activations to be a core special teamer. It's been hard to get him back to the roster just the way the kind of things have gone. He's certainly a guy that's capable, and as a guy I really like. I think he's a really good young player. So with any of those guys, not just the receivers, anytime you exhaust those 3, so that's why you got to be a little bit, creative in some ways, and you got to be cautious sometimes with who you're bringing up.
For Kevin, just his journey and going to the UFL, I know we've asked about it before, but to actually make the roster, if he is signed, what do you think that says about his progress and maybe how deserving he is of a roster spot?
Yeah, I think deserving's the word, because I really felt like since the day Kevin got here, his work ethic, his mentality, he's kind of that, he's kind of that hard hat, lunch pail, shovel guy with that shows up every day, and he's doing really exactly what we need him to do. So he is deserving, and he's not only has he worked hard, he's played well, and so it's great to see a guy that's put the time in, put the work in, the hard work pays off. It's always those are always great stories, for me, and those are the guys that I really, really respect. So he is deserving, and I'm really happy for him.
Isaiah Stalbird, clearly says a lot that his 3 were exhausted early and he's still around on the practice squad, but there was also a shift in position for him, the safety. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, he was kind of a hybrid guy in college, and so he played a little bit of line. He was a big school guy in Nebraska, and then he went to a smaller school, obviously, and they kind of use him as a multiple guy, kind of like a strong safety down in the box. So he had some linebackers. So he was a little bit of a tweener, but he really had good special teams film in college, and so he was one of those guys that we figured, hey, we're going to get him here, and he's kind of in the middle there. We started him off at linebacker. He was productive, had a really good camp. But now, as he's been playing on the practice squad for us and playing in practice, you can see the movement skills. You're like, wait a minute, this guy might be able to do multiple things. And so, you have him in the DB room and with the safeties at the moment, because we feel like if and when he comes back and he's at the game, that's where he could help us. So he's I think he's got a really bright future. So, and I just said in the beginning, the more you can do. So, the more positions you can play, I think that bodes well for him.
Tano.
We're going to go one more week with Tano. I really like where he's at, but again, a guy that's been out for a really long time. He's really just 6 practices in. But I had a great conversation with him yesterday. We'll take the full allotment in with him next week, another round of practice week, and kind of make a decision from there. So he won't go this week, but I think we're going to hold off on him at the moment. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but I think we're probably going to go one more week with Donald. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys.